Hello, Richard here and welcome to today's video. This is the second video in my Lightroom, little mini Lightroom course that I'm doing. As I learn Lightroom in more detail, I'm going to share that with you guys and hopefully we'll both get something out of it. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see the rest of this and other stuff that I'm putting out. Love to have you here. What we're going to talk about today is an introduction to the workspace and the different modules and the panels in Lightroom. So the previous video was all about installing it. We're now going to have a quick look at the interface itself and get familiar with the modules and everything. So let's get on with it. Okay, so like I said, it is all going to be about the interface itself in Lightroom. So we are going to spend a lot of time looking at the screen rather than this ugly mug. So let's jump into the screen now and take a look at a quick overview of what we've got. Okay, so you've opened up Lightroom and this is typically the screen you will be faced with. The way I see it, the Lightroom interface consists of 5 different panels. So we've got this panel along the top here, which has access to all of your modules. There is the left-hand panel down the left-hand side, the middle panel where you see your photos in a minute, and the right-hand panel. And along the bottom we will have a panel that is for, it shows thumbnails, a film strip if you like. So let's open one of my folders up. So I think for this series of videos, because it is quite a beginner's level if you like, because it's me learning more about it as I go, we're just going to look at the first three modules, which is library, develop and map. The other 4 we will look at but at a later date, so we'll get through these ones first. So everything I talk about between now and then will be primarily about these 3 modules, because that is really, I think, what most people use, certainly what I use the most. So I think it's pretty common that most people will use this before they start thinking about books and web and things like that. So looking back at the screen here, so like I said, the first thing across the top is access to the modules. So we have the library module, which is where you can organize and view your images. The develop module is where all the editing happens, mainly down the right hand side here, although we do have presets that we'll get onto down the left hand side. And the map module, which I really like, is you can take a photo and if it's got the GPS coordinates in it, then it will show you where that photo was taken on the map. So again, we'll come to that at a later date. So going back to the library module, on the left hand side here we have a navigation panel. So this shows you a small thumbnail of the picture that is on your main screen. If you wanted to click and drag on it, it will zoom in. Let's just change this. Okay, so if you wanted to click, you can drag it around and move that anywhere you want to. Wherever you click is where it will zoom in, and it will show you the 100% view in the big screen here. We're just going to go back to fit for the time being. I will discuss this in a bit more detail when we look at the library module in detail. Here you have the information for your catalogue, your current Lightroom catalogue, of which I recommend 1, and I'll explain why in the next video as well, I think. This is the folders, and this will replicate the folder structure you have on your hard drive. So this is on my hard drive, I have a folder called library, and then in it I have everything in year order. This is things that have synced from my iPhone. So you will have a separate drive here if you are syncing things from Lightroom Mobile. And down here we have collections, which is kind of like, they're like filters. So you could ask it to, let's pick up a smart collection here. So edit smart collection. You can say, put everything in this little folder here that I've colored red. Now, as you can see, there is nothing in there at the moment. If I was to make a picture red, you will see that there is now one picture in the coloured red folder. So that's a great way for organising your pictures. We will come back to that. Publish services is where you can publish direct to particular websites or other pieces of software. So if you wanted to set up a publish service to somewhere like SmugMug, which I know you can, instead of exporting it to your hard drive and then re-importing it into a web service or another platform, you can automatically do it direct from Lightroom. And that is all you have down the left hand panel. So while there's quite a bit there, it's not really too complicated when you break it down. The middle picture is obviously the image itself, and you, by pressing the I key, if you look at the top left hand corner here, you can rotate the image information. So nothing, some dates and dimensions, and a bit of metadata there as well, telling you the shutter speed and the lens and everything else. Along the bottom here, there is a few more buttons that we will come on to, but it's the view that you can view it in. You can have a grid view of all the images in that folder. You can have single photo view. You can compare two photos next to each other. You could compare a multiple of photos. So if you click on there and then keep clicking them, it will keep adding to the screen there. Could click all 5 if you wanted to, or you could take them off again, go back to 2. Faces, this is where face recognition, so you can add people to each face and it will search for those people easily. This is where you can flag or reject the photo. You can give it star ratings, you can rotate the photo, and there's lots of different things along here that we are going to go into in a future. Let's get rid of that. In a future module when we talk about this, future video, sorry, when we talk about these in a little bit more detail. Now in the library module down the right hand side, you have your histogram. You have some various options where you can do some quick develops. Nothing too intense really, because all that will come in the develop module. You have the ability to add keywords. You have a keyword list here which we'll come to. The metadata for any particular image that you're highlighted, and any comments section, which is really for when you set up online portfolios, and again we will come to that in a second or in another video. And along the bottom here we have what I call the film strip. So if you click on any given catalogue, you will have a list of images along the bottom, and you can scroll along them and click on any one that you wish. So let's pick all the images in my library. You can see here that we have them all at the bottom, and if you say, oh, I'm going to do some work on this one, then you can just click on there and do what you need. Now these are all adjustable to a certain degree, and the same with the ones at the side. So let's get that balance. You can make these bigger or smaller, and the same with this side. Not as easy as it looks. And you can also turn them off. So the tab button will turn off the side ones and bring them back on again, and shift tab will turn them all off, and shift tab to turn them all back on again. So that is the library module, a quick summary of the panels in the library module. Moving on to the develop module. The develop module again has very similar panels, but in this side, instead of file organization down each side, we have things that you can use to manipulate your image. So this first bar across the top is the same. You can zoom in on any given point of the picture, and you can adjust these bits here to whether you want to be on the fit or 100%. Again, we'll discuss that in a bit more detail. You then have a presets panel, which is really good if you are setting up your own kind of style and you want to apply those styles to different images. So you have the default ones that I think come with Lightroom, and you can set up your own. So if we wanted to go black and white, it's a starting point to edit. If we wanted to do any of these other presets that I've set up, some work well on images, some don't. It depends on the image obviously, and the settings that you've got assigned to those presets. I will go through that in a future. I'm just going to reset this in a future video. One quick tip while I'm here on these panels and on the panels in the library catalogue, if you right mouse click on one of the headings, you can choose the ones that are visible. You can also go into something called solo mode, which I like. It means it can only have one panel, one drop down open at any one time. So if I open snapshots, presets will close. Oh, let's turn solo mode was on already. So I open snapshots, which there aren't any. History, these are you can see that what was open closes, and it means that you don't have loads of things open and they're sort of going down all the way down off the screen. You have to keep scrolling up and down. You can basically just one at a time. So we've talked about preset snapshots. There's nothing there, so we'll discuss that in another video. History is basically taking you back to what you've done on that image. So if you wanted to go back to, I think, oh no, I did look better at black and white, so we can go back to black and white. No, maybe it looked better at summer matte, and then you decided that they all look rubbish and you want to go back to how it was imported, which is there. And collections are again the filters, if you like, where you can assign certain criteria, and any images with that criteria will go into those smart collections, or you can have collections that are linked to your mobile. As you can see, these two here, this means they're syncing to my mobile device. Again, saying it a lot, we will talk about that in more detail. And over on the right hand side is where you do all your creative stuff. So we've got the histogram at the top that you can mess around with certain things if you wanted to, or it shows you where you might be off. And then we've got solo mode on. We have the panel across here where there is specific direct editing, so brushes if you wanted to brush over a certain part, or red eye reduction or cloning and healing. You find all that in the top part of this panel here. We then have the basic section where you can do your simple adjustments like white balance, exposure, contrast, things like that, clarity, vibrance, all the usual things. Then it does start to get a little bit more complicated with tone curves. You can set up your own tone curves and adjust those how you see fit. Oh, missed that button there. Let's do that again. Color grading, which HSL color, you can adjust. So if you look at the greens here, you can adjust each color specifically. You want to make the greens more saturated. At this point, it does apply it to the whole image, so you would have to look out for that. We'll talk about that again, I'm sure. Color grading is where you can affect the colors of the three areas. So rather than affecting the color in the whole picture, you can affect the color of just the shadows. So let's say you wanted to do one of these teal looks, which is quite popular at the moment. You can just set the shadows to have a teal hint. My mouse is starting to jump all over the place. That's color grading, and there are lots of other panels that we're going to go through. Detail for sharpening and noise reduction, lens corrections if you need to correct any lens, and 9 times out of 10 it does recognize the lens that you're on and it will correct it, although you can then correct it again yourself. Transform again is the whole picture. If you shot some tall buildings on a wide angle lens and they're not quite straight, you can adjust them here. Effects are things like vignetting. If you wanted to vignette a picture and give it some grain to give it that old school film look, maybe, I don't know. And then down here is the calibration, which I admit at this stage I need to learn a lot more about, but it does affect certain colors and adjust certain colors. So that is the right hand panel. At any given point you can reset your image back to how it was at import. And finally, in the develop module along the bottom here, you can see the pictures that you are working on or that you have in that library. So we are going to go to, I don't know, let's now go to this one, and you could edit that one. If you wanted to correct a white balance, you could highlight all three, and there's a quick ways of getting the same white balance across all three. And that is the bottom panel. Across the top of the bottom panel there are all these other options, which you can have a second monitor looking at your pictures. tells you what folder you're in. You can filter the photos by certain things on this side, colours, stars, flags, all sorts of things, which again we will get into. So they're the panels in the develop module. Over in the map module, I'm not sure if I've got any of these pictures that have yeah, so here we go. So we can see here that it gives you, if you click on any given picture in your catalogue, you can then zoom in on the map and it will show you the pictures that have got GPS coordinates in. Now not all these do, because I haven't added GPS photos to my images in lockdown, and a lot of these are lockdown photos, but basically you can see here on the map where you took those photos. When we come to do the map schedule map module in more detail, I will get some pictures in there of a holiday that we went on where you can see the pictures that we took and where on the map. It's a really cool function. It's nothing major, but it's great if you want to track where you took a certain picture or go back to it. It's pretty simple now. There's nothing really to do down here. It's more of a viewing screen than anything, and you can pick the different photos along the bottom. You can zoom in and out, go in and out a long way if you want to, and you can pick different information here, what you want to see on the map. And they're the three modules that I promised I would talk about. A really quick overview there of what each panel does in each module. And in the next video, we will dive into the library module and look in a lot more detail of what each of those panels do. And hopefully that will prove useful too. So don't forget to like this video if it was useful, subscribe to the channel to see the future videos on this course, and there's a lot for me to learn. I'm going to share that with you as well. So thanks for stopping by. It's been a pleasure to talk to you today. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.